Oh, wow. This is so fun. We're back together again, the Wise Women Roundtable here at the end of 2025. And what a year this has been. And as we were just mentioning, it's when we were talking before we started recording, is that we're completing a 9 year, and a nine is completion. And then we'll be going into 2026, 1 year and new beginnings. And the one of the new beginnings that's happening in a 1 year, it's just like these things just happen to line up, is that the Saturn Neptune conjunction in February, February 20th, exact at 0 degrees Aries, also a beginning point, happening in a 1 year and a beginning point. And it will also we'll have just started the year of the fire horse. So as that conjunction comes to exactness, and it's been thousands of years since they've met at 0 degrees Aries. Now they've met in Aries prior, like 500 AD, I think, or there's different times they've met in Aries, but they haven't met at the zero Aries point in thousands of years. So this is a very unique time, very, very special, very profound. And then, of course, we have the solstice coming up and the new moon right prior to the solstice. And I've done a couple of videos on that. I'll put that in the show notes if people want to see that and they haven't seen it. Talking about the sun on the galactic cross at the December solstice and the new moon a couple days before that at galactic center, passing through the galactic current sheet, as is our whole solar system for a couple hundred, I don't know how many hundreds of years it is that we pass through the galactic current sheet, but it's every 30 million years that we get to go through that part of this part of space. So this is a rare time on so many levels. And then the other thing that's happening is that I feel just really called to speak into, in addition to the fact that there's a Venus-Mars Sun conjunction happening in early January, and Venus and Mars are like really close already at this time, and are just going to continue to get closer and closer till they come together in early January. And then the Chiron Eris dance. And I've talked about this before, and there's some videos I've done on it. Eris was the goddess of chaos and discord. She's the one that put the golden apple on the table and said it was for the fairest one of all. And that's what basically led to the Trojan War. It's a whole long story, but she created a lot of chaos and a lot of discord. But if we think about what is, and because they didn't invite her to the party, there was a big party that was happening. They didn't invite her, and so what parts of ourselves are we not inviting? Are we have dismissed or haven't invited to be more conscious within ourselves? And and then and then when we become aware of that, how can we begin to invite that part of ourselves to be more present? Because if it's dismissed, it's going to probably create chaos and discord, but it's not necessarily something that we're aware of happening. It's more subtly happening. And so it's an opportunity to become more aware. And we can see chaos and discord is happening around the planet. And in some places, maybe more obvious than others, but a lot of things have to be dismantled before we can get to the new. And really, that's what chaos and discord is all about. It's like, how do we get take out the old and disrupt the old so that the new can come in? And Chiron also with Eris. Now, Chiron and Eris will come together about every 50 some years. Chiron has a 50-year cycle. It'll catch up to Eris. It's probably a little bit more than 50 years, but when it catches up, the last time was in 1971, I think. So it's a little bit more than 50 years when it's coming back together. And Eris has a 550-year cycle. So the fact that it's longest in Aries, it's been in Aries for 100 and almost 120 years. It will be in Aries for about 120 years by the time it moves on. And so that's why Chiron catches up with it twice while it's in Aries. And Chiron is about the deep shamanic healing that's available to us. And it's in Aries, which is also where the Saturn Neptune conjunction is taking place next year. And if you think about the Aries mysteries, it's really when it's healthy, it's about how do we maintain cosmic order. And if we don't have cosmic order, how do we restore cosmic order? Justice, justice for all. How do we create a space that's safe for everyone to be who they are? That's what Aries would hold as its mission, its purpose, as needing to be able to create that space. So Chiron in Aries, it's like, how are we creating a safe space to to be ourselves, to be who we truly are? And what do we need to let go of in order for us to be able to do that? And so this is something to just contemplate as we are moving into this new time. What are we letting go of? What are we ready to release? What are we maybe not ready to release, but we need to release? Because there might be a few of those things. I've had times where I've been very resistant to releasing some things, and then as soon as I did, it was like, why didn't I do that sooner? So these are some of the main energies uh, that are moving with us into this new year, the new calendar year. And of course, calendar years are based on some kind of, I don't even know why they picked January 1st to be the first of the year because it's not a season and it doesn't really align with anything that way, but that's what they decided to do. So that's how we got our calendar. And it doesn't drift. That is the good news. It stays aligned for over 3,000 years. Um, and one of the reasons they had created this calendar back in the 1500s was that the calendar kept drifting over a couple of hundred years or 300 or 400 years. It would drift like several days from where it was supposed to be in terms of the seasons and the way they had set the calendar up. So this one doesn't drift, it stays on point. And then it was a way for them to also know when they could have certain ceremonies and holidays and taxes. People could pay taxes.
Oh, surprise.
So it's a
Hmm.
very material calendar. It's like it keeps our mind in a linear material perspective. So to go out beyond that and to recognize new moons, full moons, seasonal points, planetary things that are happening, this is helps brings us back to a more natural way of experiencing time rather than the more left brain linear way of experiencing time and this calendar does have advantages. It's like Elizabeth in Ecuador and Sarah in France and Mia in Arizona, we can all come together because we know the date and the time, and we can do adjustments for our different time zones, and we can be here and meet and connect um, because we have this calendar and we have this way of tracking time. So it does have advantages, and we also want to keep connected to the more sacred time. So we are, I think, at this time of the year in the northern hemisphere, and I know it's different for you in Ecuador, Elizabeth, but we're having our longer days and shorter, I mean, our shorter days and longer nights and a wintry season. When you're near the equator, you don't really have a big change in seasons. So then there's different ways you can keep connected to the sacred timing of what's going on. So anyway, the I think that our opportunity is to just be aware. What do we want to um, be co-creating at this time? What are our intentions? And as because we are coming into the year of the fire horse in a 1 year, and things are just going to take off and go, we want to have a sense of that. Now, if we don't know it specifically, that's okay. But it's good to have, it's like, okay, well, what do I need to clear out of the way if I did know specifically what it is that I'm wanting to energize? And how are we showing up to be the change in the world we want to see? How are we showing up in the place of great love and compassion for ourselves and for everyone around us and for those in the world? And how are we coming from a place of love? So I actually wrote an article about Chiron and Aries being the power of love, the power of kindness, and the power of forgiving the unforgivable. So, what do we need to forgive? How can we love more? And how can we come from greater kindness? So, with that, I think I'm going to pass this on to Elizabeth. And these are just some good things to contemplate as we're moving out of 2025 into 2026.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I think we're
I'm,
going to go
I'm
to
sorry,
Sarah because
Sarah.
Sarah.
I meant Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
Sarah's gonna
Thank you.
take us on a flower journey, and then I'm gonna wrap
you're frozen, Elizabeth. I don't know why, but
with
frozen.
She'll
So
come back, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so very interesting how you ended there, Kaylin, because it just synchronistically, if that's a word, helps me just lead into what I want to talk about. So I wanted to talk about something that I'm doing right now, actually, with a small group of clients, and it's a journey that we're taking together with the flowers. And I woke up about 2 months ago with this whole thing in my head of what to do, and I had zero idea where it had come from. But essentially, I invited some people to join me, and they did, and here we are doing it together. So there's Elizabeth back now.
There she is.
Yeah. So at this, as you've been talking about, Kaylin, at this kind of like really sacred time of the turning here, um, something that you can do yourself if people are aligned to do this, because you can get hold of these essences in all different places, or just to hold the template, because it was pretty much what Kaylin was talking about. So there's a flower called Bleeding Heart. I don't actually have any photographs with me, but if you want to, you can Google Bleeding Heart. It's a flower, it's literally a heart shaped, and it's magenta. In French, it's called le cœur de la Madeleine, which is Magdalene's heart. And when I saw it in a nursery here, when I was looking at some plants, I was like, it stopped me in my tracks. That in English we call it bleeding heart, but the French call it Magdalene's heart. I was like, okay, so I need to pay attention here. So this beautiful flower is, as an essence, is for grief, understandably. It's for, everyday 3D, not every day, like grief of having lost somebody or lost something. But I think, and as we're all going through these big shifts in the world, we're all having to lose parts of ourselves, say goodbye to things that aren't aligned, and all the things you were talking about, Kaylin. So it's a very aligned flower to help us there. She also lines up there we go. Thank you,
Beautiful.
Elizabeth.
Love that.
There she is. Thank you. Isn't she gorgeous?
So
And in that photograph as well, you can see that she's got almost like this womb connection from the heart all the way down to the sacral. So she's such, we'd call it the doctrine of signatures in herbalist or even in flower essence world. Many flowers tell you exactly what they do just by looking at them. So what I'm doing right now with some others, some clients of mine, we're taking a journey through December, January, and February. And in November and December, we're working with Bleeding Heart, and we're about to shift into another flower around the solstice. But in Bleeding Heart, what we've been doing is like taking the journey of Lilith and going back down into her cave, where she goes after a period of grief, or she goes to rebirth herself. And so we've been sitting in that cave together, and it's been really powerful. And I'm just inviting others maybe just to take yourself into your own version of that, because we've spoken about anger, we've spoken about sorrow, and as things change, many of us experience anger. I have been, and I don't really do anger. Ian's been just like, whoa, I'm leaving the room. Do you know what I mean? Because he's not used to me having these like, what the hell is going on? And kind of like having a little kind of temper tantrum kind of thing. As something in me alchemizes away, and the fire kind of burns itself. So we've been talking quite openly together about all these different states and emotions, and where we're at right now, which is very much what you were talking about, Kaylin, is like, okay, so the solstice is coming, this change is coming as we move into January, and the light returns and we get ready for all these big shifts. What am I bringing with me? As I start to climb out of the cave, what am I picking up and bringing with me? How can I reclaim my wholeness? And that is really where bleeding heart can help us. And I learnt this from the Alaskan bleeding heart and Steve Johnson, who is now in spirit. So I'm sure he's very much part of what we're talking about right now. And he spoke about bleeding heart as being for grief and all of the transition points in life of all different kinds. But he also spoke of it as the what lies underneath all of that is where we've gone into self-abandonment, and our inner feminine and inner masculine has, is literally, looking away. The Venus and the Mars, again, that you spoke about, Kaylin, so like the different parts of us are just not paying attention. And of course, we all do this, and, it's the journey of life. And bleeding heart helps us, helps the four chambers of the heart to start being coherent again. Talking to each other, it helps the more astrological archetypes, if you like, to start talking to each other. And in that, we reclaim ourselves. So when we prepare then to leave the cave, I know, Kaylin, as well, you work with the Venus gates, and so it's a similar journey. We go down, 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 and then we decide to come up, 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 and we repeat it many, many times in our life. And we can do it according to astrology, and we can also do it according to, just where we are in life. So bleeding heart is a very beautiful flower to support us at this time. I think almost it probably needs another flower to go after it. What we're going to do together as a group is we're going to move into a rose together to bring us back into more anchoring. Okay, so I'm out the cave now. I've brought, I've got my suitcase or whatever, and it's got the things in it. Everything else has been left behind. I've reclaimed all my pieces. So we use a rose. We're going to use a rose next to anchor it in love, and to connect us back to the more of the 3D version. Okay, so why am I here? What's my purpose? All of those things. But to do it through love. And then in the third month, we're actually going to use a white rose just to kind of like anchor more of a solar plexus type energy of being in complete sovereignty. But I think really today what I most wanted to talk about was the bleeding heart and how she can really just support us in...
And it is perfect timing since Venus is in the underworld. Venus and Mars are currently in the underworld, and neither of them come out. Venus comes out in February and Mars comes out in March. So perfect
Okay.
timing for that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't consciously aware of that, but of course I was on
Of
some
course you
level
were.
because these are very feeling things, aren't they? You just know when these things are right to do. So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so bleeding heart, the Magdalene's heart. Very sacred, sacred being. So, Elizabeth, you're going to ground us all, I believe.
I'm gonna do my best. I love
Yeah.
the bleeding heart. It's so beautiful.
So
And thank you for bringing up her photograph. I think sometimes we need that. I don't have a
Yeah,
good one.
anytime. If you don't have a photo, I'll just go find one for us so that we have it up on the screen for everybody.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that
really
was
good
so
because
good.
just by seeing it, we get the transmission.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
lot of
bam,
what
you
I
get
do
the
in my
transmission.
work. It's just like sometimes we don't need the essence or anything like that. We just need to get our eyes on the being, and then we get the transmission. So yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was the most clearest picture, and it was close up, so very beautiful. And I noticed it was interesting because there's the white part, right, that comes out at the bottom.
Mm,
And when you're facing it, it comes out sort of like on the sides of the what looks like the drop of blood, but it had little dewdrops in it that almost look like tears. Um,
yeah,
and it reminds me also of the Divine Mercy picture that Saint Faustina had visions of Jesus, and Jesus would come and his heart would open, and she said there would be this rose, like this pinkish rose red light and a white light coming from his heart about love and purity and that becoming mercy. And it feels right around the idea of what Kaylin was saying about, forgiving the unforgivable. And I'm certain most of us have something or another. on that list. But to build the kingdom of heaven on earth, we have to. We have to do that. We have to start fresh. It's not a soft, easy thing to do. Forgiveness is a burning sword. It's a flame. It burns down old ways. It burns down the matrix. Um, and so I want to take what everyone's talking about and make it practical because we're coming up, and traditionally, at least in the United States, we like to talk about New Year's resolutions. And and then everyone always has jokes about how their resolution is to actually do the resolutions they do- that they come up with because most people don't end up doing them. And so why? And I think it has to do with that wounding. The Our trauma and our wounding, it paints the world with a certain color of glasses. And so what we don't realize consciously most of the time is that everything we perceive is being run through that framework of believing our trauma. And that part of you, those are some of those cool hidden parts of you. And they are cool because they're really powerful. And if you can put them to work, they can do stuff for you. Otherwise, they run the show, right? So while Venus is in the underworld, part of it's the practice of unveiling the subconscious. What keeps us from taking the fire horse by the reins and going 1,000 miles an hour into the direction we really want to go? And it's going to be the chains and the binds and the weights of our subconscious selves that haven't got their needs met. So here's a really cool way to get a hold of your subconscious, help heal that part of you or parts of you. So you might want to do more than one practice here, but at least go in and ask yourself, well, what are the top three most important traumas that I still haven't fully got through? Now, I'm not saying that the practice that I'm going to give you is going to fix the trauma. What I'm saying is that it's layers and layers and layers. We draw these traumas in on purpose in consciousness to get work done for the collective. And we come here on purpose and pick the lineages and families and problems that we have on purpose. And they're all perfectly set up just to be just hard enough for you to bear it, right? And not too hard that you can't bear it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But those pieces are key. So if you can imagine you have a chance to get on your fire horse this next year, to go full speed into with new intent, a fresh way of doing things, a fresh way of being, a fresh take on your business, a fresh take on your relationship or your household. And you can't get on the fire horse and go that fast if you continue to carry these balls and chains around with you that have all been very useful and informative until now. So which ones are they exactly? And those are going to be linked to a time in your life. So oftentimes it's a what we might call like a frozen child or a frozen self in the subconscious, which is a commonly understood concept in healing. But what we do now is we address them and then we give them a different place to be and we give them a different job. Currently, they're pounding on the wall of your reality saying, my needs haven't been met. And then we get up in the morning and we say, I'm still frustrated. I'm still not getting the changes I want to see in my partner. I'm still not getting my children to love and respect me. I'm still not getting the money I need to make these other things happen. I feel stuck. I can't move my business ahead. I can't do XYZ. And it's because those parts their needs haven't been met by you. Because the external fixes, they don't work. They're not going to work. You can't ask other people to fix everything and then voila, now your subconscious life is fixed. You're the one who has to take those chains off. So the way that we can do it is we can ask ourselves, well, what age pops up, right? And take your time. Spend a day and just let one age show up, right? So for me lately, it's been this, uh, there's three of them actually that came up for me, and it's been a teenage version of me, one that's in her 20s, and one that's 35. And they've been pounding on the walls of my subconscious very hard at the moment. And so one way you can help them is you can say, write them a letter, right? Because they're in the dungeon of your subconscious, but you are the creator. You can send them a way out. You can open the door for them so they can be free. But you can write them a letter, or sometimes I'll just go into meditation and I'll go talk to them. But it's if you're not able to do that very well visually, then write them a letter and say, I understand what you need. And in the letter, you're going to describe, bullet point, a list of all the things that they didn't get met. And you're going to have to sort of like a bird, be objective and be above it and notice all of the pieces that they needed. But another way to do it is to actually talk to them and say, all right, younger me or little me, what do you really need right now? And then let them tell you. And most of the time, they'll be very common, very broad ideas. Like, I need to be seen right now. I need support. I need people who love me. I need to be able to run and scream and cry and be angry. I need to be allowed to have feelings. I need to be um, appreciated by the people around me. All these different pieces that often will be very broad, and that's okay. And so you say, all right, then let's meet those needs. And here's the fun part. That's the not so fun part. The good news is you don't have to go relive what happened. You don't need to know all that in detail. All you're trying to find out is what they need. And so the last piece is create what they need. And I've done this a lot for lots of people, including myself. It's actually one of the ways I help myself the most get through very difficult PTSD symptoms. But what I did is I basically said, all right, help me co-create a place where we can get these needs met. So maybe it's a younger inner child. You can have them go home to an enlightened version of your parents. Or if that's not going to work, give them to Mother God and Father God. Make a brand new home or a better version of the home that you remember the most. Make a new place. It doesn't even have to be realistic. It can be complete fantasy. I had one of my more fun ones is I had a teenage girl come to me for a session, and she was having a lot of trouble because she was like, everyone wants me to explain myself and I don't know how, and all I really want is people to just love me as I am, and I kind of just wish they would read my mind. And I said, all right, well, let's make a place that reads your mind so that you can get to know yourself better and then learn some words so that you can begin to communicate better because that's what people are asking from you and your struggle is in communication, but you need a safe place where you don't have to or you don't have to worry about it. And I said, well, where do you want to go? And she's like, well, I don't know if we can like be on the planet or not. Like, I don't think that that would work. Like, it makes me tired. And I said, well, what if we went to a different planet? And she's like, yeah, that's too far. And I said, all right, well, what about a spaceship? A spaceship that's above the planet. And she's like, okay. So we make the most amazing spaceship. We've got this imaginary spaceship, and we go take her, and it's fourth dimensional. So it's not false, it's real, it's just in a different dimension. And I said, this spaceship is yours, and it is built to read your mind. And she then just starts to perceive that this place can really get her and it doesn't have to be a human. It doesn't have to be it can just be a technology that serves her. So she doesn't feel the pressure of everyone around her, her teachers, her family, her friends saying, "Why don't you talk? Why don't you tell us? What do you really want?" And the machine can do it. And lo and behold, I have her describe it and she's like, "Well, I said to it in my mind, I imagined a beach and now there's a beach in front of me." And I said, "Good, keep going." And after a few minutes, she felt so calm and at home and in rest. that she realized that if she can give herself this, then she can handle the pressure from the external. And that's a very fun kind of uh, sort of almost a bit silly. It's what a teenage girl would want in a teenage boy, but it helped her to feel safe so that she could then build the next level of skills. So the fire horse is going to do what it wants to do. It's going to take you as fast as you want to go. But how safe are you going to feel on a horse with a whole bunch of balls and chains behind you? It's not going to feel very safe and it's not going to feel correct. It'll feel even harder when you do hit those mountains. And it'll feel really scary when you're going down and you've got them and you got your balls and chains coming up behind you real quick using gravity. And so I'm giving people a literal way to envision what's possible. Give it to yourself. If you give those parts of yourself what they need, so like my 35-year-old self went through some awful, awful things that year, and she desperately needs me to acknowledge her rage. And I, like you, Sarah, can't handle being mad. And it takes so much to get me angry. And then when I am angry, it's really bad and it scares everybody. And I need to acknowledge her rage. So I'm going to give her a place. I'm going to give her I was thinking about one of those rage rooms that they have in the United States. It's something that people in the US would do totally, is have a rage room. But the rage rooms are hilarious because they've got like TVs and like that you can bring images of people. They have dummies, they have glass, and you can break whatever you want. You pay all this money, you go in and you can just let it loose. And sometimes our jobs and our family life, we can't just let it loose. It's too scary, it's too hard on everyone else, it's too harsh. So we do it for ourselves. And so I'm thinking about giving her a rage room so she can go do her thing. And and just each piece. So I've had to do this with like parts of me who gave birth, and the birth didn't go that well, and I redid the whole thing. I redid the entire birth for her, and it was so much better. Now, what this does is interesting because it doesn't get rid of the wisdom, right? Chiron and Eris have wisdom. This year has had incredible wisdom. Trauma has wisdom. You don't lose the wisdom. You balance out the polarity of what you experienced. You give yourself the other side of it. I have clients come and say, "Where's the joy? Where's the joy?" And I say, "You have to make it. You have to make it for yourself. You're the creator. You created this other stuff." And yes, it took some external doing. You wrapped a bunch of other people in on it too, and including perpetrators perhaps. But you can create the other side too, and you start with the inner world. You start with your imagination. You start with communicating to those parts of you. So I feel like that's one of the most practical, best ways in love to move forward, to heal ourselves, and not to lose the wisdom of the trauma that we've gone through, but to balance out the polarity, that we are all here to deal with polarities across the board. Instead of turtles all the way down, it's polarities all the way down. And we're here to get to know all of them in a unique, novel way that is totally and utterly unique to you. There's no one else that can experience the polarity the way that you do. No one else can experience the trauma and the breakthroughs and the healing the way that you do. And that's why it's so highly valued by the universe. And that's why the stars and the planets, they don't just offer us bad things or good things, it's both. Every sign and every planet and every sparkly thing in the sky offers you both. It offers you polarity. And that means that that's what we're made of. So your subconscious is part of your polarity of being. And I think it's a very good time, especially in the northern hemisphere when things get quiet and darker, to go in and do this work. We might call it shadow work a little bit, but in a way, it's also to make it so that when you do get on the horse this next year, you don't have a bunch of scary things holding you back. that you feel totally helpless to deal with, that you don't have heavy things that are going to fall on top of you as you're trying to very swiftly meet the terrain that we have to face, all of us as a collective. And one last piece, we get these interesting wild cards that come into our awareness field. And if you want to know how humans create polarities with their understanding, 3i Atlas is the perfect thing to look at. Like I'm watching my boyfriend. He said to me, "Hey, there's this new thing where they're saying that we're gonna go through the, whatever stuff that 3i Atlas is spewing into space, we're gonna go through it, and that it's made of cyanide, and everyone's gonna die or something." I don't know what they're saying, but I started laughing and I was like, I mean, seriously, none of that makes any actual sense in physics, but this is what I mean is some people are saying, "Oh, it's this coming of Christ and Christ's light and all this good stuff," and other people are saying the other stuff. And what do you suppose makes it so that someone looks at it in one way or another? It's going to be their trauma. So if they have a certain set of trauma, they're going to see 3i Atlas as scary. And if you have a different awareness, then you're going to see it as really positive. I'm in the middle and I'm very objective, but I don't think of it as it's not a comet, that's for sure. And I'm not afraid in any way. I'm astounded. And I'm amazed at how brilliant this universe really is, and what the timing is absolutely utterly perfect because it's coming up in 9 days. It's the 10th today. 9 days it'll be very close to us, right before solstice. And solstice is a really important time to do this kind of work, to set yourself up for the next mountain to climb where you get higher. And you don't want anything dragging you down, and you don't want to be drugged down by anybody else's trauma either. But stay objective right now when it comes to these kinds of fascinating things that we don't really understand. But it also just shows how little we really know, and that we're getting to know it, and that that's our job, is to be endlessly curious. So be curious about yourself right now and ask, what are those pieces that need me to help them recreate reality with them? And then do it. Do it with gusto. Do it through art. Do it with music. Do it with AI. Do it with spirit. Do it with the angels. Whatever helps you. Bring them all in. One of my favorite places I brought my inner self was a castle on a beach with a pet unicorn, and that's still my number one best favorite place of healing that I've created. So it's totally anything goes right now. Your creativity can show you how to get through whatever it is to create a better time. Plus, it's a challenge to wrap everything up as we go into a 1 year, a new beginning. And we should take it very seriously because these are 12-year cycles. And so, 12 years is a long time. How do you want the next 12 years, which are going to be utterly life-changing for humanity, more so than any other time on Earth? How do you want it to look? That's what we are here to do, and that's what we're up to. So that's the message I wanted to share, and some
That
of it's kind of
So good, Elizabeth. Oh my gosh, thank you for all that. I love it. Sarah, the thing about the bleeding heart. Oh, this is so good. I'm hoping people find this very helpful. We'll have some links in the show notes for ways to connect, maybe with Sarah can send something about the bleeding heart link, a link to that. And then I don't know if you have anything, Elizabeth, but and I'll put some things there too. But anyway, this is yeah, and when we do this together and support each other and come back and watch this again, remind yourself because it's easy to get distracted in this crazy, wild, and chaotic world. So hopefully we are co-creating for ourselves and with each other a magical world that we really want to live in. So yeah. All
Absolutely.
right. So until we meet again.
Mm, bye, everybody.